In this video, what we're going to do is we are going to link this employee class and the display class. So what I have to do first is I have to think about how am I going to store my employees as I enter them. So if I run this just to kind of again make this a little clearer, I get my display that pops up. Just takes a second. Any second now. There it is. Okay. And basically I'm going to put in like person 1, age 45, job title manager, salary, and this is going to be true, and then I hit submit, and then it should do something. Now this video is just going to build, it's really just going to set up that element. We're going to ignore this sort entry right now. That's going to be something we'll do a little later. But basically all I want to do is when I hit submit, I want to take all this information and I want to store it and remember it. Okay, so how do I do that? So what I do is inside my display class is I'm going to create, this is where my data storage is going to happen. And I'm going to create an array list of type employee. I'm going to call this employees equals new array list employee. And there we go. So I have to import employee. So now what I can do is every time I click that button, I'm going to create an instance of employee and I'm going to put it in here. And then we have it. But the question is, how do I make the program do something when I click the button? To do that, oh, and this should be private. To do that, what we're going to do is we're going to create what's called a listener. So in Java, we make something called an action listener. And an action listener, without getting into a lot of technicalities, an action listener isn't actually a class. It's what's called an interface. So we have to do a little bit of unique coding here. So what happens is I can't create an instance of an interface. At this stage, I don't want you to actually know what an interface is. It's fine. But what I have to do is I have to essentially create an instance just like this. But what it will actually require me to do, oh, I need the word new in here, is it says you can't create an instance of this action listener unless you actually give me some instructions to go along with it. So that is what the error is saying right now is you need to implement a method inside here. If you don't, this isn't going to work. And so what I do is I click here and I say add unimplemented method. Interfaces are one of those topics that people often find really challenging. And to be clear, now is not the time to dive into them. But I really want to explain to you that if you understand what an interface is, it's a really straightforward topic that you can, if you write the AP exam, it's a really easy question if you get one, to be honest. But for now, all we have to understand is that this is a listener, and our action listener gets defined in a special way that we have to actually override a specific method. And the way we do that is we kind of open a brace here, close a brace with a semicolon, and then write the method in here. So now that we have this action listener called action, what we want to do is we want to essentially do all the work in here. So all I'm going to do right now is say system.out.println action called, which is button clicked. And now what I need to do is I need to bind this action listener, or this action, to my button. And so how do I do that? So I'm going to come down here where I actually create my button, which is somewhere right there. So I'm going to say submit.add action listener action. So what does this do? This uses the submit is the implied object, add action listener is an instance method, and then what I do is I pass it the action listener I want to bind to submit. So now when I run this, come up in a second. Here it is. Watch down here. Every time I hit submit, it runs a function. So what has to happen when I press this function? What I need to do is I need to get each of the fields, and then I need to construct my object, and then place the object in the array list. So let me come up here. We're going to do all the work up here. So step 1 is access JText areas, text or JText fields, sorry. Step 2 is construct object, and step 3 is add object to list, to array list employee. Okay, so the way we do that is I'm going to say string n equals, and now remember these text fields, I know that the first text field, the first element is at index 0. So if I say text fields at 0 dot get text. And so what get text does is this an instance method, and it gets the text from text fields at 0. So just to show you, if I say system.out.println, and I'm going to say n, and I run this, now if I put in the word Paul up there and I hit submit, there's Paul. So we have to do this for every text field. So I'm just going to delete this. So I'm going to copy this. So I'm going to get the name. This is going to be text field 1. And the second text field, I believe, now I have to remember. Let's give this a run and have it pop up. Oh, I have an error. It's okay. So we need, the next one's going to be age. So now again, whenever we get the text, we get it as a string. So I'm going to say int a, and then I have to actually cast this. So I'm going to say int get text field. Oops. So in Java, the way we cast is we put this int in front of here like this, and it's telling me I have an error. So let's figure this out. Get text field. One second. Pardon me, I was getting my languages mixed up. So I'm going to use the integer class, and there's a parseInt function. So I know parseInt is a static function in the integer class, and I essentially get the text and I convert it to an int. Now, I have no error checking here, and we're not going to do that right now. But some error checking would be really important to add, and that's something you can try yourself. So the next one is job title. So I'm going to say string jt equals text fields at 1, so 2 dot get text, and now I have to salary or hourly. For now, I'm just going to actually let's just do this. So I'm going to say boolean. I'm going to say boolean sh equals, and now I'm going to have to take this, whatever is inputted, and convert it to a boolean. Again, I can use a static function inside the boolean class. I know it's a static function because I'm calling it with the name of the class, and I'm going to say text fields at 3.get text. So now I have all that information, so now I construct the object. So I'm going to say employee temp e equals, for temporary employee, I'm going to say new employee, and I'm going to pass it the name, the age, the job title, and so I've constructed this object. So now I have this object that's been constructed, and then I have to take this object and add it to my list. So I'm going to say, what's my list called again? Employees. Employees dot add, and we're going to add temp e. And so now, just to see this, if I go system.out.println, and let's go employees, and I save this, and I run this. So if I say name, person 1, age, I don't know, 22, job title, grand, boss, master, whatever, salary is true, and I hit submit. Now I see action called, button clicked, and I see that inside my array list I have grand, boss, master, person 1, employee 0. Now what happens here is, remember, array lists have a predefined toString that prints out all the elements, but since each element is an employee object, it actually then uses a toString inside my employee class. So let's pull this back up. Let's add a couple more. So now, see, I have two objects. I have grand, boss, master, person 1, employee number 0, grand, boss, master, person 1, employee 1. Let's add person 2, person 3, whatever it is. Submit. Now what you're going to notice here is this doesn't handle errors. So if I put something like monkey in here and I hit submit, I'm going to get a bit of a problem because it's not checking properly. Or if I put here monkey and I hit submit, oh, where'd it go? I hit submit, in error because it's trying to convert the word into an int. That's some error checking you want to kind of explore. Obviously, the last thing I want to do here is every time I hit submit, I want to clear my fields. So let's do that. So I'm going to close that. So what I do is I get the text field, and then I'm going to say text fields at 0 dot. And now, I don't know offhand how to do this, but I imagine it's probably a set function. So I'm going to say set, oh, and there's a set text. So I'm just going to set text to empty string. So let's just run this and see what happens. So again, I didn't know what the name of the function was, but I remembered this idea of get and set, and I was able to guess it. So if I put Paul, age 34, job title manager, false, which this is really poorly designed as far as user experience, and that's something I want you to think about, disappears. So all I have to do now is I have to take this, and every time I take an input, paste 1, paste 2, paste 3. So now I run this again one last time, and I see Paul 78, manager, false, submit, and it clears everything. So I hope this has helped give you an idea about how objects are used. Again, there's a lot of problems with this. This isn't perfect, not by a long shot. There's some real, some issues in the code we have to address, as well as some front-end issues. And what I'd like you to do now is take some time and play around with this. See if you can kind of add your own features, add some other buttons. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask. Have a great day.